Hey guys, welcome back to Hart Books. Today I thought I would do the Romance Readers book tag. This book tag was created by the same ladies who are running the Romance Readers readathon that I talked about in my last video. So it's Sarah from Not Just Romance Novels and Sissy from the Romance Queen of Booktube. So they created this book tag to kind of go along with the readathon, and I thought since the readathon starts in a couple of days, it'd be fun to do it, and it's just a really fun tag. So let's look at the questions. So the first question is, what age did you start reading romance novels? If we're talking like YA books with romance in them, it was probably around like 14, 15. I was like 9th grade, I'd say. But if we're talking more like, you know, more traditional romance novels that are just romance centric, I'd say probably like 21-ish. I feel like I started reading a lot more romance when I got my Kindle, which was in college. So I feel like around that age, I've always loved romance subplots, and I've always gravitated towards books with those subplots, even when I was reading a lot more fantasy and dystopian, which I still love those genres as well. So I'd say either like 14, maybe like 14-ish if we're talking about 14, 15 if we're talking that, or like 21-ish if we're talking like traditional like romance where that's like the main plot of the story. So question 2 is, if you could pick any hero from your favorite romance novel, who would it be? This is a very hard question, and I feel like we should have more than one answer allowed. But I think I'm actually gonna go with, this isn't a traditional romance book. I mean, it's not really a romance at all. There is a romance in it though. And I'm gonna go with, I'd love to meet Matthew Claremont from A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I think this is mostly though because they've been having a lot of pictures come out lately for the TV show, and Matthew Goode is playing Matthew Claremont, and I love Matthew Goode and have for like a few years now. So I'm so excited for that TV show, and I just keep waiting for more like trailers to come out. So I'm gonna say I'd want to meet him, but I'm not really sure if it's, I mean, I would still want to meet Matthew Claremont the vampire too. He's a really, really interesting character, and I just finished the 2nd book in that series and I loved it. So we're gonna go with him. Number 3 is, what are your favorite romance authors and why? There are so many. I feel like I'm just gonna name a few. But I love Jennifer Armentrout. I love that she can write a little bit of everything. She does paranormal really well. She does contemporary really well. I've read her young adult stuff. I've read her adult stuff. And they're all great and they're all perfect, and I love them. Another favorite author I would probably be like Cambria Hebert. She's someone who I've only read one series from her so far, but I've got a couple others on my Kindle. But she wrote the #Nerd series, and I just find that's one of those that just really resonated, and I really remember it, even though I read it a few years ago. So I love her writing. Tilly Cole, she writes fantastic books that just really like gut punch you, so I really love her. And then also just like, you know, Lisa Kleypas, I love her, you guys know that. I love Julia Quinn. So a couple of those authors, really any author that I can really suck me into their work and I can't stop reading it, those are a favorite. Or the ones that like I see they have a new book coming out and I'm like, yes. Oh, Aurora Rose Reynolds too, her. Number 4 is, what is your favorite romance novel to reread? It's hard to pick. I know I reread books because I actually really enjoy rereading books, but I'm trying to remember like which ones most often. I would say the #Nerd series by Cambria Hebert that I just mentioned. I've reread that one at least 2 or 3 times, and there's like 4 or 5 books in that series. So that one I've read. It's just kind of comforting at this point. I just think it's a nice story. It's sweet. I like the family aspect of it. Also, let's see. Oh, the Wallflower series. I haven't reread the whole series, but I've reread a couple of the books in the series already, and I just read them for the first time last year. So those, again, like, I just think they're so sweet, and it's like comforting. I like rereading books because it's like you know exactly what's gonna happen, so there's no surprises and no stress involved, so you can just kind of breeze through them. But yeah, I'd say those are probably 2 of my favorite rereads. I definitely reread more than just those, but they're the ones in my head right now. So number 5 is, what book would you recommend to a non-romance reader? This is a tricky one because you have to be careful, because you could either really suck them in or you could really push them away from the romance genre, depending upon, and everyone has such different opinions on the genre. You know, it's so vast. There's a little bit of something for everyone, but knowing what that something is really difficult when picking books for other people. But I would say maybe like an R.S. Gray book, because she writes really good romantic comedy, and I feel like because it's so funny and the characters are just so darn like charming and sweet, that I think maybe if you could like ease into the romance genre that way. Or maybe a Christina Lauren book, because she writes, they have a little bit of everything at this point, because they have kind of their steamier stuff, if that's more what that you think that person might like, but they also have some young adult, and they've also got some just like different stuff. Like Roomies was kind of in the middle of that. Really great plot, really great characters, and just their novels more than anything just suck you in. So I think maybe you could get someone to like romance novels just because they can't put the book down. So maybe one of those two authors, I'm not sure. Number 6, the last question, says, what is your favorite historical, contemporary, or suspense, and why? These are very difficult questions in this tag. Talk to me like a year and a half ago and I would have said contemporary like hands down, because I hadn't read very much historical. But now that I have read a lot of historical, and I'd say I read probably almost 50-50 of like contemporary and historical last year, I don't know. I think, I know this is probably the same thing a lot of people say, but it really depends on my mood, and I tend to bounce back and forth between historical and contemporary. You know, if I want to kind of escape more, I feel like historical is a good way to do it, because it's definitely in the same way of fantasy novels, like not your real life. I feel like historical kind of is that same thing. So if I want to kind of have an immersive read, I probably will go more for historical. But I also love how real some of the characters are in a contemporary, and you can kind of maybe relate a lot more to those characters. And if you want something maybe a little more like hard-hitting, or with subjects that are a little bit more, you know, about things that are kind of popular right now, I would go for contemporary. I like them both. There's no picking. I feel like both have aspects that are just wonderful, so I can't pick. Okay guys, so that is the Romance Readers book tag. I'm gonna pick a couple of people to tag, and I'll tag them down below because I can't think of anything off the top of my head. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you, if you would like to do it though, definitely do this tag. I think it's really fun, especially if you like romance, to kind of like think about some of your favorites and some of your like habits and stuff. I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.